Times, as I affectionately call them. They're in a complete meltdown tonight following a full-on staff revolt over the paper publishing an op-ed by Senator Tom Cotton that didn't comport with the paper's far-left, extreme, radical, democratic socialist views. And now the op-ed suggested, well, using perhaps military resources to assist local law enforcement amid nationwide violence and unrest to protect people, now prompting staffers at the paper to claim that the piece put their lives in danger. And the outrage over the piece led to the Sunday resignation of James Bennett, the editor of the paper's editorial page. Tonight, the paper is catering to their far-left staff more than ever. Can't even have a different opinion. The acting editor saying, quote, anyone who sees any piece of opinion journalism, including headlines or social posts or photos or you name it, that gives you the slightest pause, please call me, text me immediately. Okay, sounds like they're more interested in caving to their own far-left mob than actually the free flow of news and ideas. We've known that for a long time, though. Senator Tom Cotton is with us. You know, I did like your tweet that said, how's everyone doing at the New York Times tonight? What do you make of that? Because I have a lot of feelings about this myself.
Yeah, it's amazing, Sean. The New York Times didn't just publish my op-ed. The editorial page editor and the publisher both defended that decision, but as their woke child mob of employees rose up against them, within 24 hours, they immediately repented and they prostrated themselves like a struggle session from Mao's Cultural Revolution, and then the publisher ultimately fired the editorial page editor and reassigned his deputy. So we know who's in charge at the New York Times now. The publisher will throw anyone under the bus at the New York Times to satisfy that woke child mob. And remember, this is all for the sin of publishing an idea that has the support of 58% of Americans, but apparently not the social justice warriors inside the New York Times.
You know, look, I was more with you in the beginning, and then the more I thought about movement posse comitatus, and then as I saw every big state liberal governor, they don't want the guard help. They keep rejecting the president's help. And I agreed with what the Attorney General said earlier tonight on the Fox News channel, which is, hey, if they keep rejecting it, that's on them. But it has to get really bad to reach that high bar. I think legally, constitutionally, you're on firm ground, but I don't think we're at that point yet. And they just refuse to help anyway.
Yeah, I agree with the president that we should use the military as a last resort. The local police are always the first line of defense for livelihoods and for lives. But sometimes you have to call out the military. As we saw last week in Washington and Minnesota, the National Guard was essential to getting in control of the violence. Now, fortunately, as the week wore on, I think that response began to resonate across the country, and the rioters and the looters and the anarchists went home, and the peaceful protesters and demonstrators could exercise their First Amendment rights in safety. But it was because of that tough response earlier in the week that we finally saw an end to the violence by and large by the end of the week.
Yeah, I want to show this picture again. You got Pelosi, Schumer, other Democrats, 8 minutes, 46 seconds. They take a knee. Okay, symbolic. But the problem is, Senator, that it's their fellow Democrats we have now watched running cities, running states for decades where schools are failing our children, violence is rampant, they've done nothing to fix it. I appreciate all the symbolism in the world, but they've never spoken out and said, hey, lower the murder rate in Chicago and Baltimore. And you can't have 13 public high schools in Baltimore where you don't have a single kid proficient in math. I mean, it is an epic fail, and they're supporting all these governors and all these mayors that have failed in that direction and not done a thing. Okay, do all the symbolism you want, but they're supporting failure, policies that failed, and they never helped the president with his economic policies.
Yeah, it's the truth that the Democratic Party has failed a lot of big city America, and that now they're only going to fail them more in places like Minneapolis and LA and New York if they try to defund the police.
All right, Senator, thank you. Glad you made the New York